Certainly, a very important time of our conference each year as we recognize officers for the Valor Awards and Deputy Sheriff Year of the Awards. So if I could invite Sheriff Thomas Jones to the platform and Sheriff Michael Chapman. Sheriff Thomas Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor to have the opportunity to present the Valor Award to two of my officers this morning. On the evening of October 11th, 2018, Lieutenant Charlie Brinkley and Officer Dustin Brown were answering calls in the midst of Tropical Storm Michael. In a short period of time, torrential rain had caused severe flooding in areas all across our county. At approximately 21:10 hours, they received a call that individuals had exited a vehicle that was stranded in a rapidly rising creek. Upon arriving on the scene, the officers could hear a faint yell and soon spotted a young man clinging to a guardrail. Both officers entered the water and started towards the individual, eventually locking arms to give support and help to each other in the raging water. Officer Brinkley luckily had grabbed a dog leash when he exited his vehicle. When they reached the individual, the water was so rapid it had washed all of his clothes off. They had nothing to grasp onto to pull him out. So Officer Brinkley attached the leash to the young man's arm and handed the other end to Officer Brown, but they proceeded to work their way back to the bank. After reaching the land with the individual, they learned that the other two individuals had been washed away. One of them was the young man's father, whose body was recovered that night. The other one was the young man's grandmother, who was recovered the next day. These two officers risked their lives to bring this young man to safety, and they're to be commended for their bravery and their actions that took place that evening. Thank you.
Will them stay?
Hey, good morning. My name is Mike Chapman. I'm the Sheriff of Loudoun County. It's an honor to be here today on behalf of Loudoun County Sheriff's Office and on Virginia Sheriff's Association to present Deputy First Class Colin Whittington with the Deputy Sheriff's Association Deputy Sheriff of the Year Award. He has been with the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office for just over 3 years and is a member of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. I'd like to also acknowledge our command staff that came down to be with him during this presentation. We have Lieutenant Colonel Poland, Majors Hines and Landon, Captain Hibbard, and Lieutenant Hill. So thank you all for being here. Deputy Whittington exemplifies community. Also, I'd like to, Colin Whittington's wife, Shelby, is here as well. Okay. He exemplifies community policing through his outreach and participation in civic youth organizations, schools, HOAs, businesses, and educational programs. Having been here only 3 years, he's been recognized with County Team of the Month Award, 2 Employee Recognition Program Monetary Awards, and numerous compliments from citizens from his community outreach efforts. Deputy Whittington initiated an alcohol enforcement operation which involved extensive collaboration with command staff, restaurants, management, legal counsel, and the Virginia ABC to deter disorderly conduct and alcohol offenses in a highly frequented business establishment. These incidents prior to his initiation included many calls for service, malicious wounding, assaults, and several drunks in public. Due to his consistent problem-solving approach, this operation has resulted in significant decreased arrest and has been well received by the management of all these business establishments as well as Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Whittington has a professional demeanor, enthusiastic attitude, integrity, and work ethic, and has elevated the standard of law enforcement officers throughout our agency. He is highly regarded by his peers and command staff, which is reflective of his many accomplishments, including a Valor Life-Saving Award and 2 incidents during his first year with the LCSO. So only 3 years on the job, and as usual in law enforcement, no good deeds go unpunished. So he's doing such a good job. We brought him up to the front office, and he's working with our public information officer staff there, so he's one of our PIOs. So we do appreciate the great work that he's doing. Appreciate everybody coming out to recognize this great award, and certainly his wife Shelby. So I'd like to invite Colin Whittington up here to receive this award.
Is that right? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we have a presentation. Y'all stay put. Need y'all back up as well.
It always gives me a great honor to give away the guns every year. It's so funny to see their faces because they never know it's coming. This year we have a Glock 43 for the Deputy of the Year in both Valors.
Thank you so much and congratulations. Thank you for your membership. We've come to the time on our program where we will install the officers that the membership elected yesterday. So I'd like for the officers to line up down here in front of the head table and ask Todd Gilbert, the majority leader, to please come forward. So the treasurer, secretary, second vice president, I'm not sure, I believe the first vice president is here. And so if you'll line up right down here, starting with treasurer over here. I am honored to introduce Todd Gilbert. Todd is the delegate from the 15th District, representing the Virginia House of Delegates, representing Page and Shenandoah counties and parts of Warren and Rockingham. He was first elected in 2005, and in 2018 he became the majority leader. He is a member of the Courts of Justice Committee, the Rules Committee, the Vice Chairman of the House General Laws Committee. He serves on the Virginia State Crime Commission, and he's Chairman of the House Criminal Law Subcommittee, and he serves us well there, and I always enjoy that committee because I see that committee kill so many bad bills, and he's responsible for leading that committee, and it's just great to see these bad bills. This year, I think the wholesale killed every one of the marijuana bills. We opposed all those bills, and they were killed in that subcommittee. And that's not the only thing. It's a lot of bad stuff that goes on and bad bills that are put in, and we like Todd right there. I just had to say that because Billy Gilbert and I spent a lot of time in that subcommittee. Prior to his election to the House of Delegates, he began his career as a full-time prosecutor. His first job was with the Office of the Commonwealth Attorney in Lynchburg. He also served in the Office of the Commonwealth Attorney in Shenandoah and worked for years as a prosecutor in Warren and Frederick County Commonwealth Attorney's Office. He's a graduate of Central High School in Woodstock. He attended Southern Methodist University School of Law, where he earned his law degree in 1996. He was president of the Student Bar Association. When not in Richmond, he works in his private law practice. He's married to the lovely and talented Jennifer Wisham Gilbert, and in 2017 they were blessed with a son. Jennifer's a broadcast journalist who is currently the White House correspondent for CBN News. Todd lives on a small farm outside of Mount Jackson, and we are honored to have him here to install the officers of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. Please give Todd a warm welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It is quite an honor to be asked to be here. Sheriff, thank you for asking me to be here on a special day where people, Sheriff, where you get to stop dealing with things and let them start dealing with it, right? I want to say real briefly, and I know we're going to get to business, John Jones is the most experienced, savvy, knowledgeable, effective government affairs professional that I know in Richmond. And if he's not sitting in my committee every single day, whatever committee it is, we run into each other a lot. If he's not there, I know he's sitting outside the appropriation or finance committee chairman's office waiting to get after them about your needs. So I just wanted to thank you, John, for having me here as well. So, gentlemen, I'm going to read what John has written for me, and everybody expects you to just say yes a bunch of times. So we begin with the Office of Treasurer. Sheriff, do you, Sheriff Lenny Milholland, promise to perform all duties as Treasurer of the Virginia Sheriff's Association as provided in the bylaws and articles of incorporation consistent with the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia? And do you promise to make available to a certified public accountant and any member of the association all records, statements, financial reports, and accounts for funds as provided by the bylaws, articles of incorporation, and laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia? I appreciate that. As a former prosecutor, I know you always got to watch the treasurer of the organization, by the way. You all know that too, so just letting you know that ahead of time. Sheriff Clark, do you, Sheriff Fred Clark, promise to perform all duties as Secretary of the Virginia Sheriff's Association as provided in the bylaws and articles of incorporation consistent with the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia? And do you promise to keep an accurate record of all the meetings of the Board of Directors and membership of the association and perform other duties as may be required as Secretary of the Virginia Sheriff's Association? Thank you, sir. Sheriff Hall, do you, Sheriff Kevin Hall, promise to exercise and perform all the duties and powers as set forth in the bylaws and articles of incorporation consistent with the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia? And do you promise to act on behalf of the first Vice President of the Virginia Sheriff's Association during his absence or inability to perform his duties? Thank you, Sheriff Hall. Sheriff Warren, do you, Sheriff Darrell Warren Jr., promise to exercise and perform all of the duties and powers as set forth in the bylaws and articles of incorporation consistent with the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia? And do you promise to act on behalf of the President of the Virginia Sheriff's Association during his absence or inability to perform his duties? Thank you, Sheriff Warren. And finally, Sheriff Carter, do you, Sheriff Timothy C. Carter, promise to uphold and abide by the bylaws and articles of incorporation of the Virginia Sheriff's Association and to perform the functions incumbent upon you as President of the Association? Do you agree to preside at all meetings of the Board of Directors and membership, call regular and special meetings of the Board of Directors, and carry out the policy of the membership and the Board of Directors of the Virginia Sheriff's Association? And do you promise to perform all functions incidental to the position of President of the Virginia Sheriff's Association and which are required by the bylaws of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, consistent with the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia? Then, gentlemen, thank you. With your spoken promise, I hereby install you as the respective officers of Treasurer, Secretary, Second Vice President, First Vice President, and President of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. If you'd turn and face those to whom you are responsible. So congratulations to the new officers. I know that you all are in good hands. I know that these elections tend to go quite seamlessly because everybody, eventually, if you stick around long enough, you're going to be called upon to do your turn. And I do just want to add that it's the singular honor that it is for me to be here with you today, to be with your officers, especially Sheriff Carter, my sheriff in Shenandoah County. If I know anything about the office of sheriff, there's no better example of true democracy than people getting to elect the person who is responsible for their safety and security and the orderly conduct of society in the jurisdiction in which they live. It is something that's very much unique to our American experience. I know that there are probably examples around the world, but just the idea of having someone that you elect to protect you is so fundamental to our freedoms, I think, in this country and to accountability to the citizens that we all represent. And so it's my honor to be here, not only with all of you, but with Sheriff Carter. And a word about Sheriff Carter. I've had the honor of working with Tim Carter as a prosecutor, as his delegate, and I know this is a big say in this room, especially with so many people who are consummate professionals and run professional organizations. But I'm so impressed day in and day out at the level of professionalism to which Sheriff Carter has led his department over the years, and it is a shining example of professionalism for all departments around the Commonwealth of Virginia. So it's my honor to be here with Sheriff Carter, and I think he has a presentation to make. Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Todd, thank you. Thank you for conducting that ceremony. I have a presentation to make. Steve, if my math is correct, I think you were the 60th person to occupy the president position with the Virginia Sheriff's Association. And on behalf of, well, before I finish, I first met Steve when I went through the accreditation process. I think it was about 2007. And he was a captain then with the sheriff's office that he worked for, and he came in and he was part of that team, and I learned a lot from you then, and the lessons that we learned from that initial accreditation have still carried over today within my staff. It was a very professional team, very professional assessor, and I appreciate all the help that you gave us and the guidance that you gave us back then, and that's carried on until today. But at this point, I want to present you with just a small token of our appreciation for your outstanding and dedicated service as president of Virginia Sheriff's Association from 2018 to 2019. Sheriff Steve Dempsey. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Sheriff Carter. I appreciate the time that I've known you, and I do remember that assessment very well. Certainly, there's a lot of past presidents that have done and have certainly fought the battles and brought us to where we are today. And if you are in the room, I would like to ask you to stand so we can show you once again our appreciation for your serving as president of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. If you're in the room, would you stand, please? Any past presidents? I know there's a few. Thank you very much. I can honestly say it's truly been a blessing, it's been an honor, it's been a privilege to have served as your president this past year. I sincerely believe that collectively we've accomplished a lot this year. Just to name a few, a 3% pay raise for all deputies and sheriffs through the Compensation Board, funding for alternative transportation for TDOs, which you heard about, an increase in mental health services for inmates, which you heard about as well, killed a bill that threatens our asset forfeiture process, killed a bill requiring law enforcement to be present for child custody exchanges, killed a bill allowing a 24-hour ECO. This, again, is just only a few of the accomplishments, but it's worth mentioning. I can tell you that in this position, I've learned a tremendous amount of what the Virginia Sheriff's Association does for the sheriffs and deputies across the Commonwealth. I followed John through the hallways of the General Assembly this past year and saw firsthand his influence among senators and delegates. I can tell you about one incident in particular on the ECO, 24-hour ECO. A committee was about to go into session, and the senator, chairman of that committee, come out of it as he was begin the program, and he approached, I was standing next to him, and he approached John and says, "John, I understand the Sheriff's Association is not supporting this bill." And John said, "No, we're not. It's a bad bill." And he went in and he said, I'm going to withdraw even presenting that bill, just based on the influence of the Virginia Sheriff's Association and John Jones. John, Megan, Susan, Katie, Lisa, Rosemary, I can tell you firsthand, they work extremely hard for each one of us. They have their heart in the right place. So with you, could I ask you to stand so we can applaud you and thank you for all that you do for us. As many of you know, the Virginia Sheriff's Association, as I mentioned, we have a strong voice in Richmond. The legislative process, I think, is worth mentioning because it's certainly more than asking for money. And for somehow we have gotten in the concept of the precept that we constantly are beating on their door for money. That's a small part of what we do. It's the influence on the bills that affect the well-being of the citizens we serve. You heard from Sheriff Arthur Townsend yesterday how many bills we voted on and how many bills we carry back to the House on a daily basis that affect those citizens. We, the sheriffs, deputies, really need to stick together. It's a time when we've always been strong, and we are stronger united than we are divided. This year there's 26 sheriffs retiring, 26. High number. And I'm going to ask, if you're in the room this morning, would you please stand? Along with that, we have with us Sheriff Stanley Clark, who is among those who's already retired. And I would ask, if you're retiring this year, Sheriff, would you please stand so we can recognize you? Sheriffs, if you're here and you're retiring, stand. Stanley, come on. Stand up, Stanley. Now, BJ, I'm already standing, so you're okay. BJ always wants to give me a hard time about being short. Tell you a quick story on BJ. Tony Lippa and myself, Sheriff and Caroline, were together at a golf tournament fundraiser, and BJ shows up. I thanked BJ. I said, "BJ, appreciate you coming out here today." He said, "I didn't come up here to play golf. These people up here need to see what a tall sheriff looks like." So, and don't let him tell you he didn't say that, because he did. Certainly, the Virginia Sheriff's Association has come a long way over the last 40 years, and certainly we want to make sure that we keep it that way. Some thank yous. First of all, I want to thank my wife, who is sitting in the back, who is where she likes to be, rather than on the front row, and she has, we counted it up last night, we have attended, this year is our 30th conference that we've attended. And we've attended those together, and she's been by my side throughout my entire career, and certainly have to spend a lot of lonely nights, a lot of lonely holidays without me, and certainly this past year, a busy year with the Virginia Sheriff's Association. And certainly I want to thank you, my staff, Chris Giles, who's here, who's also running for sheriff in King George County this year. He has certainly also has stepped up and had to fulfill a lot of the responsibilities that I do normally during the day, and he's done a great job with that. Sheriffs, deputies, I just got to say thank you for allowing me to serve as your president. I am humbled to have served alongside the great Sheriffs and Deputies Association. You're great. You're heroes, and I can appreciate you. Sheriff Carter, officers, board members, it's now up to you. We have 26 sheriffs retiring, and we have to make some changes. We got 26 new people coming on board, maybe even more. I hope not. But we have a new sheriff school, and every year, every election, the Virginia Sheriff Association does a great job with that school. And I would encourage you to go back and to make sure that the sheriffs that are taking your place in your office, that they attend the Virginia Sheriff's Association School. The dates for that school is December 3rd through the 5th, 2019 in Richmond. We have added a special phase of that this year to where the spouses will be coming. We have a great time for them planned. They'll be going to the Jefferson Hotel in Richmond and enjoying lunch, and also hearing from the wives of some of the former sheriffs and current sheriffs that are there, and we'll be hearing just how to accommodate and compliment their sheriff as they are. May God continue to bless this association, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the United States of America. I thank you again.
Steve, I've never said anything about your height. Now I've got to follow in your shoes, and I tell you, you got some big shoes to fill. I can tell people that right now. I would like to just speak on a couple things. Just take just a couple moments of your time. I want to thank the Virginia Sheriffs for their support and their confidence in allowing me this opportunity, because it surely is an opportunity and a privilege to be in this position. I know that our world has changed dramatically since the time I first entered this profession. But what hasn't changed, though, is our charge to serve and protect the people of our communities. That hasn't changed. What has not changed is a solemn oath that we've all made to support and defend the Constitution. That hasn't changed. Many times I tell my staff that we are the last bastion of hope. We're the place where people go when they don't have anywhere else to go. It's where all the problems end up, is at the sheriff's office. From those that are so minimal that sometimes all that person needs is a listening ear, somebody to talk to or somebody to vent, to those that are so great that they truly involve life and death decisions. And they can impact the Commonwealth, they can impact our communities and our homes for generations to come. I'm keenly aware, as are my fellow sheriffs, of the jobs and the service is not political that we perform. People, we serve the people. Whether they vote for us or not, whether they voted or don't vote at all, we serve the people in our communities. Whether they've lived in that community for 7 days or whether they've lived in that community for 7 generations, we serve the people of our communities. Again, I want to thank you all for the privilege and the opportunity to serve as this office for the Virginia Sheriff's Association, but I would be remiss if I didn't recognize several people that are here today. In a minute, John, I'm going to have to reach way back. You might remember some of the people that I'm going to mention today that can't be with us. But I certainly couldn't do what I do as the sheriff of Shenandoah County or even as Tim Carter in my life without these people. First, I want to introduce my family, my wife Karen and my daughter Mona. Thank you all for being here. I love you both, and I appreciate the support that you've given me. Also, with me, I have some of my staff here today. Major Scott Proctor, he's my chief deputy. Donna Holler, who's office manager for our office. Captain Wesley Dellinger is my patrol division commander. Scott Thompson, who's my investigations division commander. Rebecca Malk, who's my court services division commander. Landon Rittenauer, a patrol lieutenant. Bo Hall, who couldn't be with us today, who's also another patrol lieutenant. Mitch Vernazza, who's a sergeant with our agency. And I also want to thank the entire staff of the Shenandoah County Sheriff's Office. I have a super staff, just a super group of people that are supportive of me and the people that we work for. Also with us today is my county administrator, Evan Vass. I want to thank him for being in attendance today. My home district board of supervisors member, Dennis Morris. Dennis has been there a long time. He's a friend of mine. He's my supervisor, and he's the one I call first whenever I need something or I have a problem. And Dennis, I want to thank you for being here today. Of course, as mentioned earlier, is my state delegate, Todd Gilbert. I've known Todd now for, since he was in college. And he is a friend to Sheriffs John. And when we have a problem, Todd knows he's going to get a phone call from us, whether we agree with him or not. He's going to get a call. And but he's been very supportive of me, and I appreciate you being here today, Todd. A couple of people that could not be here today is Senator Mark Obenshain, but my state senator, is a super guy, and has been super supportive of me, my office, and Virginia Sheriffs. And I also want to thank the people of Shenandoah County. Again, I never forget who I work for. I've been around law enforcement all my life. My dad was chief of police of a small town in Southside Virginia for 44 years. So I do want to mention some of those law enforcement officers that there's so many people here that I could mention today by name, but I do want to go back a little bit and talk a little bit about some of those people that I grew up with. From my own county, of course, Larry Green, who was the sheriff before me in Shenandoah County, Marshall Robinson and Phil Chrisman. I know all these people, and they were all super supportive of me and the people of Shenandoah County. The county that I grew up in, let's see, Emerson Hardy, Archer Daniel, Wesley Adams, Pee Wee Adams, Charles Warren Stokes, and of course Arthur Townsend. Many people don't know this, but Arthur and I went to high school together, graduated the same year together. They've all been supportive of me and my family. Of course, in Rockingham County, Glenn Weatherholtz, Don Farley, and Brian Hutchinson. I've known all of those guys since I've been the sheriff or was a student at James Madison. They were all super people and very helpful to me. Larry Parrish from Nottoway County. I met Larry when he was running for sheriff, and I was a new police officer in Blackstone, Virginia. And he is the consummate county sheriff in Virginia, Larry Parrish, and we're going to miss people like that when he retires. And Larry, I appreciate it. Other sheriffs that I've had a close relationship with in my region, Lynn Armentrout and Danny McKeither in Warren County, Bob Williamson, Lenny Milholland in Frederick County, Les Taylor in Winchester, Dale Gardner and Tony Thorpe in Clark County, John Thomas and Chad Cubbage in Page County. All of these people have been helpful to me and been supportive of me. I look at my position as being a servant, and as your president, I'll never forget that. You can call on me, you can call on John. We'll do everything we can to help with whatever we can. I want to leave you with two quotes today that I do live by. One is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It says, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart of grace, full of grace, and a soul generated by love. We can all be great. And next, a passage in the Bible that I look at for service. And Jesus sat down and called his 12. And he said to them, if anyone would be first, he must be last of all and servant of all. Guys, again, thank you all for your support, and I look forward to serving you. Thank you.
We have two more things on that program we want to move through, and certainly Special Olympics and then the heat program. So, Rick Jeffries, you in the room? Wow, I've been looking for you. Rick Jeffries, while he's headed that way, and we all know Rick. If you don't know Rick, please get to know him. But however, he's been coming to our conferences for some time and with his presentations. And Rick has joined the staff of Special Olympics in Virginia in 1986, and since 2000 he has served as president. And he just does a great job. And he's got with him Roy Zedman, who's vice president. And they both do a wonderful job and right at a phone call away for anything. But however, I've all referred to Rick quite often as the Lou Holtz of Special Olympics. He's got these quotes and these comments that just stick with you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the podium over to Rick Jeffries.
Hey, John. How you doing? Good, thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. We'll try that again because I know y'all been sitting here. Good morning. Good morning. That's good. That's better. To all of you sheriffs who are here and all of your teams that are here with you and your support staffs, it's great to be with you today. And I want to do this on the front end because after we do the recognitions of the sheriffs, I'm going to ask Steve to say a few words and kind of close out today. So I want to tell you when we start how much I appreciate all you do for the law enforcement torch run and raising money and awareness for our Special Olympic athletes. But in addition to that, I want to tell you how much I appreciate all you do and thank you for what you do every day in your jobs. I've gotten to know a lot of you very well. I've gotten to know some of your families. I got a great opportunity to get a hug from Charlene Dempsey in the back as I came in when Steve represented all of you as the state chair of the torch run a couple of years ago. Charlene was with us a lot. And it takes a special person to be a law enforcement officer and a special person to be a sheriff or a chief. And I thank you not only for what you do for Special Olympics, but I thank you more for what you do for all of us in our communities every day to keep us safe. So thank you for that. I appreciate all you do. I want to thank John. A lot of nice stuff was said here about John today. I've known John for a long time. He always gives us some good time here on the agenda and always gets the Sheriff Association and puts us up front for all of you to support us. So, John, thank you for having us today. Steve has become a good friend. Steve has really gotten involved as much or more than almost any other law enforcement person that we've ever had with the law enforcement torch run. He knows athletes. He knows their families. He has developed a run that runs into a meet, a Special Olympics meet at King George High School. He's really done a lot. And so, Steve, thank you for also giving us time here on your agenda. We also want to let you know, it's always our practice to have a chief or a sheriff serve on our board of directors. Give us a little oversight, but also represent the torch run and be a conduit back to the field of law enforcement. The last 6 years, that person, I thought he was going to be here today because I talked to him a couple of days ago, but apparently he got called out. Ken Stolley has been on our board for the last 6 years and has represented all of you as well as all of law enforcement on our board with the law enforcement torch run. He's also been very helpful and impactful in helping us in the General Assembly process. And so Ken has done a great job of representing all of you. And it was our pleasure during the fall, because Ken served his 6 years, he served 2 terms, to rotate off the board. It was our pleasure to nominate and elect to our board of directors Stacy Kincaid. Are you sitting right over there, Stacy? She's right over here. And I appreciate, it's going to be a great pleasure for the next few years to work with Stacy as a member of our board of directors. So we appreciate that connection of being able to have not only your leadership in the torch run and your leadership in our community, but your leadership to help us and represent us on our board. So thank you. So here, what I want to tell you, because I want you to leave today knowing a little bit more about Special Olympics than you might have before you came. Outside of the accomplishments of our athletes, and you're going to get a great opportunity to spend a few minutes with one of our athletes here today, the law enforcement torch run for Special Olympics is the single most phenomenal thing in this program. Men and women, sheriff's offices, police departments, Department of Corrections, regional jails, campus police, military police, every aspect, federal agencies, every aspect of law enforcement represented here, is just an incredible thing. We had our kickoff for the torch run just before the actual run back in late May up in Fairfax. The chairman this year is the chief in Fairfax County, Ed Rossler, and they announced in the last 12 months that law enforcement torch run, you and all of your compadres and the other agencies raised $1,354,000 this year for Special Olympics. Let's give yourselves a round of applause here. So since 1986, we've been doing this thing, 34 years, $22.5 million in the state of Virginia to support our programs and our athletes, $56 million worldwide, because the torch run is now in probably 24 or more countries outside of the U.S., so $56 million was raised worldwide. That's an incredible thing. But here's what I want you to know, because I talk to you and your officers and your deputies and all of your folks all the time, and you get these questions from the community. $1,354,000. That's a lot of dough. What are you doing with all that money? It's interesting. I was coming down here today, and I was listening to NPR, and they had a piece on nonprofits, and they were talking about nonprofits and percentages and how much money is spent. We're very proud in this organization, just to let you know, that of the dollar raised, 88 cents on every dollar raised goes directly into program for Special Olympic Virginia athletes. I want you to know that. I want you to also know, when people say to you, what are you spending all that money on? I just want you to remember two things. Some of you have seen both of these. One of the things that we can do, even though it's not necessarily what we really do all the time, is provide some opportunity for health care access for our athletes. We learned several years ago that the average person with an intellectual disability living out there in the community, 67% of those folks either need glasses or new ones. 37% suffer from some form of preventable tooth decay. You know, tooth decay is the mouth is the gateway to the body here. And that's why you're seeing all these dental commercials on TV now, is because people realize that poor dental hygiene can cause cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and a series of health issues. People that with intellectual disabilities, probably about 24% of them can't even pass a hearing test. So at our summer games at the University of Richmond, we have a $500,000 health center. Some of you have been there and seen it. We have a full dental center, the only group in the country, only group in Special Olympics in the world, other than the World Games every 4 years, that does this. We have a full dental center, and we do about $30,000 to $40,000 worth of dental work every summer games, every June with our athletes. We fill cavities, we extract teeth. We do root canals, but we don't have the amount of time. You know, people say to me, Special Olympics Summer Games supposed to be a celebration of sport and joy in the human spirit. You are drilling on these people's teeth. What are you doing? And when a young lady comes up to you at the dance on Saturday night, at the victory celebration at the end of the event, and says, I just want you to know, it's the first time in a decade that my mouth has not hurt me, that's a significant improvement in your life. We will grind glasses and put them right on the face of the athlete. We will provide hearing aids and follow up and do that. So that costs us $500,000. And it's not what we do, but it's what we can do when we have a whole bunch of athletes together in one place. And the health center and the Healthy Athlete Program in Virginia is really, really a cool thing. And it's costing us almost $500,000. So that's one thing. The other thing is we have these school programs. All of the school programs that we're doing, and we're one of the top 2 or 3 groups in the country on school expansion. Elementary level, it's called the Little Feet. Middle school and high school is called Champions Together. These are integrated teams of athletes, Special Olympic athletes, and non-disabled teammates who are training together in their schools. In the elementary school, they're training during PE and during their resource time in a lot of running, jumping, throwing, movement activities that really will promote fitness for our athletes and their non-disabled teammates. In the elementary schools, it's unified sports, meaning the team is part of the athletic program, and it's an integrated team. Half intellectually disabled and half non-disabled teammates. And the energy, that is generated from these programs, not only for our athletes, but for the non-disabled teammates, is extraordinary. And we're spending probably $750,000 on those programs. Now, let me tell you a story, because Steve actually met this young lady. It's a young lady named Caitlin Callahan that came up to King George with us a couple of years ago and spoke at one of Steve's Torch Run region meetings up there. And she's a young lady that was, at the time, a senior at Lee Davis High School in Mechanicsville, just outside of Richmond. And she was in the Champions Together program, which is the track and field integrated team model. And we were there talking to her mom and her about the program. And I said to her mother, is this program of Champions Together in the high school working for your daughter? And her mother, Caitlin's mother, Amy Cross, burst into tears. And when she kind of got herself together and collected herself, she said, let me just explain to you something that you'll never understand. All the years that my child has been to school, she has never been included in the school. She's in a back classroom, sequestered, out of the way, not included. But because of this program, she has people to eat lunch with. She walks down the hall and people say, how did your team do yesterday in the Champions Together meet? People know her name. It's been unbelievable to see that this program has made my daughter part of the school. Now, there's more, because when Caitlin came up to talk to Steve's region meeting, she weighed about 30 to 40 pounds less than she weighed when I had seen her a few months earlier. And I said, by golly, you look fabulous. What happened? What happened to you? And she said, well, I would go out every day at track and field practice, and my non-disabled teammates, their bodies were different than mine. They looked better than me. They ran better than me. They ran faster than me. They jumped, moved. They did everything better than me. And I went to the doctor right after that, and my blood pressure was 180 over 120. The doctor said, you're at risk of stroke. This is a 19-year-old girl. And she said, so I really buckled down during the Champions Together season. I went to practice every day. I ran. I worked as hard as I could. I lost 40 pounds. My blood pressure is now 120 over 70. I'm healthy. Got a boyfriend. That was key. It's probably the best piece of information that she could share. And I said, well, what's the most important thing? And she said to Steve Dempsey and I that day, the most important thing that happened is I feel better about myself. So it's about improving lives, and it's about improving self-concept and making a person with an intellectual disability better at home, in the community, in school, in the workplace. And that's costing us almost $750,000. So if you take the education programs and you take the health programs, that's almost the 1.3 that you raise. And I just want to share that with you. So if people say, what are they doing? They're providing some health care access when they can to Special Olympic athletes, and they're providing expansion into school programs that will make people a part of their school and later on better in the community. And if you don't believe that those school programs have energy, Beth Arthur was with me at Kenmore Middle School in Arlington back in March. Kenmore Middle School in Arlington was one of these 5 schools in the country recognized by ESPN as a banner school for Special Olympics Champions Together programs, and Beth was there. And there was a lot of energy in the room that day, wasn't it, Sheriff? And you cannot understand the excitement and the energy that these educational programs provide. So that's what we're doing. We're making our athletes healthier and better, so they have a healthier and fitter, so they have a chance to get better and win. And we want them to win on the playing field, and we want them to win off the playing field. Because there's a lot of things that are going on now. I know that in Chesterfield County, in a combination, I don't know if Carl Leonard in here today? He's Carl's here somewhere. Carl's my sheriff. I live in Chesterfield. And Carl and Jeff Katz, who's the chief of police, they have kind of formed together what's called a GTO program, which really actually started in Roanoke and some other places up in the valley. And the GTO program is an opportunity to give young people an opportunity to work and be exposed to law enforcement in the law enforcement community. So as an outgrowth of Law Enforcement Torch Run, there's a lot of things that are happening here. And they're really, really good. And they're really, really energetic. And I appreciate all you do. But I can only tell you about this stuff. Let me bring up a guy that can explain it to you. Roger Johnson is sitting down here. He's a young man. He lives up in Botetourt County, just outside of Roanoke. He works at Panera Bread in Roanoke. And Roger is going to be playing down in Virginia Beach golf in the state championship coming up in early November. They're just beginning the golf season now. But, you know, Roger is a great example of what we're trying to do in this program, which is really make people have a normalized life. And back on the 4th of August, Roger married the love of his life, Angie, who's sitting right here. Angie, will you stand up? And this is really what we're talking about, giving people an improved opportunity to live and be just like you. Let's give them a round of applause. Roger Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. And first, I want to thank the Virginia Sheriff's Association, along with Steve Dempsey for all your hard work this year. And also, I'd like to thank the new chairman, Eric Orange from Roanoke County, for stepping up and taking charge of the torch run for next year. And I just want to thank everybody for being here and giving me this opportunity to talk to you now. As Rick Jeffrey said, my name is Roger Johnson. I'm 43 years old. I grew up in North Carolina. I got involved in Special Olympics at the age of 8 through a teacher through my school for the disabled called Gateway Education Center in Greensboro, North Carolina. Until then, I did not realize that there was any program out there for people with disabilities. So I started competing in 1984. The first sport I did was track and field. So I got to train in everything. I went to the state games that year in Charlotte, down at UNC Charlotte, and did the 50-yard run and the 100-yard dash. And I did all right for my first time. I also I've done track and field, I've done softball, basketball, swimming, tennis, golf. I've done as many as I could, and the best one I've done and the best one that I'm good at is golf. I picked it up in 2008 at the age of 32 when they moved tennis from the fall to the midsummer in North Carolina. So I said, all right, I got to pick another sport, so I don't know much about bocce. So I'm not going to play soccer because I'll probably get my leg broke. So if I'm going to freeze to death outside, I might as well be moving around, so I picked up golf. So I did it, and I've took off with it. And in 2014, I had the privilege of representing the Special Olympics North Carolina in New Jersey at the 2014 USA Games in 9-hole golf. So I got to New Jersey, and it is like red carpet all the way. They flew us in on private jets. We got my program and 24 others stayed at Rider University. We were lucky because we had one of the 2 brand new dorms that had AC. So we got to at least sleep in the AC at Nationals, and a lot of the other programs did not. So that was a benefit for us. Well, the best part of that trip was I got to go with my stepdad, who was my caddy at the time, and we actually got to spend Father's Day weekend, and we attended the opening ceremonies on Father's Day night at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. So we got to spend the whole Father's Day in that week in New Jersey together. So that was a memory that will not be forgotten. I moved up here in 2017 because of work mainly, and I also wanted to compete up here in the state where I was born. So I've had the privilege of moving up here in 2017. I started the golf program in Area 24 on my own. I moved up here in June, the end of June, right before, a little after August started, I had me a golf coach, got my physical done. I pretty much got that golf program going. I'm the only one in the program right now. So it benefits me anyway, either way you look at it, because you got 5 or 6 golfers that play the whole course by ourselves. So it's a pretty good chance we're going to go to the States every year. So luckily, I've got to go to States in the last 2 years, and I've ended up winning my division both years. So I'm actually, I play pretty regular. I try to get on the golf course as much as I can. I promote Special Olympics year-round. And one thing that Rick Jeffries talked about with the healthy athletes, I didn't realize until I attended New Jersey that when I went through healthy athletes, I went through the dental part of it, and I found out that I had 1 or 2 teeth that needed to be pulled because of tooth decay. Well, I don't have dental insurance, so where am I going to go to get the stuff done? Well, when I got back home to North Carolina, they actually helped me with setting me up with a program in my area, and I actually got the 2 teeth pulled that I needed to have pulled, and one of them I cracked by eating a peppermint candy of all things. So it had to be pulled anyway. Well, that's one benefit that has helped me, because without that I would have never known that I had to have that done, and I didn't have the money to do it, so that helped me. But I've been involved for close to 20-some years, and it's just benefited me in numerous ways, because I wouldn't be the person I am now. I wouldn't be brave enough to stand in front of all y'all and speak to you. I wouldn't have the personality that I've got now, because I would be I would feel more sheltered without the Special Olympics program. So all that has helped me become more positive on myself, more secure about who I am, and me knowing that I'm not alone, because I've got millions of athletes from not just the United States, but every country that competes in the Special Olympics. We have over 170 countries. We have around 5 million or more athletes around the world. So all of us are one big family. We are not ever alone, because we realize that there's people out here just like we are. We have CP, we have Down syndrome, there's numerous disabilities that we have, but we all have intellectual disabilities. But I'm just grateful for Special Olympics. I'm thankful for all the hard work that y'all put in, the torch run. and helping support the Special Olympics. And again, I want to thank all the law enforcement agencies abroad for all that y'all do, because y'all come together and help raise money for us. It gives us a chance to be more than what we thought we could be without the program. So we thank y'all tremendously for that. So finally, I just want to say, before I leave, I want to say thank you to God for giving me this opportunity, because without him, we have nothing. And he did send his one only begotten Son down here to die for not just my sins, but everybody's sins. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Roger. That's fantastic. I'm going to ask Roger to come right down here in front. I'm going to ask Steve Dempsey to join him. We're going to recognize real quickly some sheriffs who have done some really, really good stuff for us. Some of them are here, some of them are not. There may be a person or two who might receive something on their behalf. The first sheriff I know very well. He's a great sheriff. He's got a great program, not only within the sheriff's department up there, but also a great special Star Force cadet group, and that is the sheriff in Stafford County, Sheriff David Decatur. David is not here today, but in absence, let's give Sheriff Decatur a round of applause for his leadership. Want to recognize Ken Stolley. Is Tori Thompson here? Is she in the room right now? Okay, Tori, if you'll come down. Tori is the Chief Deputy, Tori Thompson, for Ken. And the Virginia Beach Sheriff's group is a great group and has helped to coordinate the region down here. We're going to present Tori with Ken's gift that she'll take back to him. We're also going to give you, and I think it's up there, we're also going to give you a photo book, Tori, to take back if you would. Let me just tell you the story on the photo book. All of our board members, when they leave, one of the things that we give them is a photographic book that we all sign that has a kind of a composite of all the things that happen in Special Olympics. And the day of our final board meeting, Ken could not be there because he called and he addressed our board by phone in our conference room. It was 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks after the shooting incident in Virginia Beach. And for those of you that have been to the complex down there in Virginia Beach, Ken's office and where Tori and them are is literally about 200 yards from where the incident took place. They were part of the response team, and he just spoke very eloquently and asked all of our board to keep the people in Virginia Beach in our thoughts and prayers, which I know we have all tried to do, but he was not there. So if you will take that book back to him and present that to him, Tori, I appreciate it. The next sheriff I want to recognize, Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Brian Hutchinson. Brian here? Okay, let's give Brian a round of applause here in absentia. Out of the Southwest, representing agencies down in the Southwest, from Danville Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Michael Mondul. Michael, come down, please. Next, with our friends from over in Northampton County, who do a great job over there, from the Northampton County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff David Dowdy. David, are you here? Yep. While they're finishing this up, the next sheriff we're going to recognize from Mountain Wise County Sheriff's Office, also representing Southwest Virginia groups, Sheriff R.D. Oaks is not here, but let's give Sheriff Oaks, who has done this for a long time, a round of applause. From the Peninsula, from the Hampton Sheriff's Office, Sheriff B.J. Roberts. B.J.? And finally, from the Roanoke County Sheriff's Office and the 2020 Torch Run State Chair for next year, please give a round of applause to Sheriff Eric Orange. Been a pleasure being with you all here today. I appreciate, again, as I said, everything you do. Again, thank you to John and Steve for having us on the agenda. I'm going to ask Steve Dempsey to come back up and make a few closing remarks, having been the chair of the Torch Run last year. John, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Katie's going to assemble those folks there for a group picture, and we'll get that taken care of. While they're doing that, I just want to say thank you to Rick and Roy coming to each year to our conference and bringing some great information. But one of my goals when I was state chair was to get as many law enforcement agencies involved and officers involved. We went over and we inventoried the entire Commonwealth. We found some that were not involved. But my plea to you today is get involved. It's certainly when our plea comes from Roy, comes from Rick each year, but our special athletes are the ones that need us. And I can assure you, in your individual jurisdictions, there's a lot of athletes that are not being touched, their lives are not being benefited from the benefit of the Special Olympics program. So certainly thank you to you that are serving, but if you're not serving Special Olympics, go back to your home jurisdictions and get a program started, get a program, get involved, contact these folks, and they will definitely put you in the right track. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the inspiration and example that you give for us each day. So thank you very much. Last, right before lunch, is our HEAT Program Awards. Certainly we want to invite First Sergeant Thomas Moeller to the podium and some of his staff. Colonel, some of your folks here to make you proud. So the HEAT program is certainly something that we participate in each year, and they've got some awards here. First Sergeant Moeller has been with Virginia State Police for 21 years, and we appreciate your service and we appreciate you being here today.